We have to expect that Omicron may well already be here.
It's going to be impossible to keep out, I imagine.
An ominous warning that came to pass late this afternoon with 2 quarantined return travellers in New South Wales confirmed to have the variant. In addition to the 2 Sydney cases, a third in the NT's dedicated quarantine facility is undergoing urgent testing. Omicron has now been detected in Germany, Italy and the UK, and scores of countries, including Australia, have closed their borders to southern Africa.
We took a big step yesterday to block flights from 9 countries and to require the quarantine for 14 days for people who have been in those 9 countries. If more measures are needed, we will not hesitate.
New South Wales and Victoria going further, requiring all international arrivals to isolate at home or in a hotel for 72 hours. As the world races to contain Omicron, scientists are racing to understand it.
Everyone really wants to react quickly, as opposed to what we did with Delta, which was delayed our reaction a bit, and that kind of led to it spreading very far, very quickly.
Our scientists are learning more hour by hour. And it does appear that Omicron spreads very rapidly and can be spread between people who are double vaccinated.
The key questions they're looking to answer: how fast Omicron spreads, if it causes more serious disease, and whether it can get around immunity from vaccines and past infections. As southern African countries face blame and bans over Omicron, former British PM and current WHO Ambassador Gordon Brown has delivered this stark reminder.
Whatever happens to this particular variant, we've got to realise that our failure to vaccinate the rest of the world is not only causing deaths in Africa and Asia, Latin America and other parts of the world, but is going to come back to haunt us.
Well, Jane Holton is the co-chair of COVAX, the World Health Organisation's COVID vaccine initiative. Jane, parts of Australia obviously were slow to respond to Delta. Was the lesson for Omicron to go hard, go early and go fast in closing down?
Yeah, but I think what's different about this time, of course, is we have much higher levels of vaccine penetration in the country. So caution right now is really sensible because, as I've already said, we don't know enough yet about this particular variant. We do know, however, it seems to be highly transmissible. That's what we're seeing coming out of Africa. So learning what we can, slowing its arrival, but particularly slowing its spread is something which at this particular point is the prudent thing to do. I think we're a bit over being all closed down, aren't we? But it does mean we have to be careful.
Jan, you mentioned that high vaccination rates here in Australia. Do you reckon they're high enough to withstand the new variant?
Well, what we're hoping is that even if it doesn't have quite the same effect in terms of transmission, that everyone's still got a really good background level of protection against severe disease and death. And that's actually what we really need to focus on. How sick do you get? And most importantly, try to limit the number of deaths. So whilst we don't really know yet, we're still hopeful that the vaccines we're currently using give us that protection.
Jane, this news of Omicron will no doubt drive demand for boosters in places like Australia and the US. But does that mean that even less vaccine will get to the regions like African countries?
Well, it's something we need to be really concerned about. On the good news front with COVAX, we've actually got orders in place for a number of billion doses now, and that includes both donations, but importantly, vaccines that COVAX is funding and buying from manufacturers. But of course, we're already being told here that you need to get your booster if it's 6 months since you had your last dose of the vaccine you had first time around. So what we've also got to think about is not only how do we get vaccines to low-income countries, so we're going to have to think about how we get those countries in due course boosters as well, because there's no doubt we're going to need them.
Yeah, Jane, in situations like this, hindsight is always 20/20. Do you think that a mutated variant like Omicron could have possibly been avoided if rich countries had met their COVAX obligations and gotten more vaccine into Africa sooner?
Well, this is exactly why I've been together with many others, warning for months and months and months that large parts of the world that remain unvaccinated are big risks in terms of exactly what we're now seeing. A nasty variant with mutations that the current vaccines may be less effective against. That's what you get when you have large populations who are unprotected. That's exactly why vaccinating the world isn't just in the interests of other countries. It's in everybody's interest, because exactly as we've seen, this variant is already all over the world and we don't yet know how well we're going to be protected. That's why we need to vaccinate the world.
Jane, I think Australians are exhausted of lockdowns, of COVID, of talking about COVID, and we keep thinking that the pandemic is over. Like we thought first if we locked down it would be over, then if we got vaccinated it would be over, and we just keep hearing about, you know, new variants. Well, I know this is a big question, but how and when does this end?
I'm sorry to tell you this. There isn't a finish line. We're going to fall over with this pandemic. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to get better at managing it. We're going to get better vaccines, and we will basically learn to live with it. The good news is the science is fantastic and we have many, many more citizens protected. We've got great vaccine rates. We've still got a couple of states we need to catch up. Queensland, WA, get out there, get vaccinated. But we're in a good position. But there's no finish line. It won't be done, but like everyone else, I kind of hope for Christmas we all might get a little bit of a break from it.
Jane Holton, let's hope so. Thank you.
Pleasure.